going to. We are very excited to welcome the Reverend Dr. Janine Burns.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be with my spiritual family at New Thought Spiritual Center of Eastern Long Island. My talk today is divine potential. There's a tremendous divine potential that exists for us when we align with and live from spiritual truths. And it's a spiritual truth that we are all in and are always in an evolutionary growth cycle, which means that no matter how available we are to experience the fullness of God, there's always more. One of my favorite Bible quotes is in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7, where King Solomon said, "Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding." So the question then becomes, get understanding of what? Well, here's an idea from the works of Thomas Troward in his book, The Dore Lectures on Mental Science. He wrote a very powerful affirmation, and he said, "My mind is the center of divine operation. The divine operation is always for the expansion and fuller expression, and this means the production of something beyond what's gone before, something entirely new. My mind is a center of divine operation," and that's our affirmation for today. So what does that mean? There's a popular description of God that says God is a circle whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere. We are each a center point of divine operation. Do you really get the significance of that? Do you get the power? Do you feel the power in understanding that idea? I invite you to put your hand over your heart and say, "My mind is a center of divine operation." We were created in the image and likeness of God, and as such, we too have the awesome power to create. We create with our thoughts. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. And specifically, it's the thoughts that we habitually think that form a pattern in the subconscious mind. And it's through the law of mind or the action of the Holy Spirit, or what's often called the law of attraction, that these thoughts are expressed in action in our life and affairs, or they're expressed as things and circumstances in our life experience, because my mind is a center of divine operation. It's at the center of our being where we discover our divine potential. And we call this divine potential, I am that I am. This is the I am as spoken of in the Old Testament in Exodus 3. And this is where Moses said to God, "Who shall I say that sent me? What do I say when they say to me, what is his name?" And God said to Moses, "I am who I am." That is what you are to say. I am has sent you. This is my name forever. The name you shall call me from generation to generation. So I am then is our spiritual identity. It is the name and the nature of God within us. I am is the divine potential within us. It is the aspect of us that is authentic, unchanging, and eternal. And so when we're saying I am, what we're really saying is it's my essence to be, or we're saying it's my nature to be. You're saying it's God's will for me to be. So whatever we attach to those two powerful little words will become manifest in our experience. Now, it's not casual thoughts, it's a pattern of thoughts. So we draw and attract, and we shape and form our circumstances in our lives using those words, I am. And it's very important to be mindful when we're thinking and speaking the words, I am, because we are telling the creator of all that is to bring whatever we attach to those two words, we want more in our lives. So here's some examples. If we're thinking, I am peaceful, or if we're saying aloud, I am peaceful, what we're really saying is, it's my nature to be peaceful. It's God's will for me to be peaceful. It's my divine inheritance to be peaceful. It's my divine potential to be peaceful. Or let's say we're saying or thinking, I am successful. What we're really saying is it's my divine nature to be successful. It's God's will for me. It's my divine inheritance to be successful. It's my divine potential. And if we're thinking or saying, oh my gosh, I am so exhausted, what we're really saying is it's God's will for me to be exhausted. It's my divine potential to be exhausted. Give me more exhaustion. Or if we're saying, I hear many people say all the time, I am so stressed out. And what you're really saying then is, God, give me more stressed out. It's my will to be, God's will for me to be stressed out. It's my divine inheritance to be stressed out. It's my nature to be stressed out. And that is not the spiritual truth. It's critically important to distinguish between I am and I feel. Many times we're say I am when we really mean I feel. For instance, we might say, I'm angry. It's not true that I am angry because it's not our nature to be angry. The truth is I feel angry. Anger is a feeling. It's not part of our I am nature. Same thing. We say, oh my gosh, I am sick. No, that's not the truth. It's not your divine inheritance, your divine potential to be sick. It's not the truth. We feel sick. It's not part of our I am nature. So it's important to be vigilant and to pay attention to what we are thinking and saying on a day-to-day basis. And the question is, are you taking the name of the Lord thy God in vain? That's the third commandment. The third commandment is, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. This commandment is about the power of saying I am. A lot of people thought this commandment had to do with cussing or cursing. It has nothing to do with cursing. It has to do with how you use those two words, I am. Thou shalt not use the two words I am in vain. We only say I am when we want to evoke our divine potential and experience more of whatever we are thinking or saying with those two words. It's important to realize when it comes to our thinking that we can't control the thoughts that flow into our mind, but we can choose which ones stay there. Where our attention goes, our life flows. The results of where we place our attention most consistently shows up in our world of form and effect. And so there's this story, which you may have heard, of the young Cherokee. He couldn't sleep well at night. He would go to bed and fall asleep. Then around 2 a.m., he'd wake up and he'd have had the most awful and negative ideas pounding into his mind. His thoughts were so negative, he couldn't get himself back to sleep. So the young man goes to his grandfather to ask for advice. And the old Cherokee tells his grandson about his own challenge with what goes on in his mind. He said, there's two wolves, and they constantly struggle with one another. One wolf is full of anger and greed, self-pity, resentment, ego. And the other wolf emanates joy and peace, love, truth, compassion. And the grandson, he thinks about it for a minute. He says to his grandfather, which wolf wins? And the old Cherokee replied, whichever one I feed. So where's your thinking? Where is your thinking? What thoughts are you feeding? What thoughts are you feeding with your attention? How are you using your power of I am every day on a day-to-day basis? The rest of Chode's affirmation reads, the divine operation is always for the expansion and fuller expression. And this means the production of something beyond what has gone before, something entirely new. This is the idea of transcendence. Transcendence, to transcend, according to dictionary.com, means to go beyond ordinary limits. It's to surpass or exceed something that has gone before. So my friend and colleague, a buddy of mine, Dr. Harry Morgan Moses, he came up with a great metaphor for transcendence. He compares the evolution of fire into a laser beam to explain this idea of transcendental growth and expansion. So it starts with the fire. And in the beginning, there was fire. It was primitive fire. And fire existed, but we didn't know exactly how to use it. We wanted to light the cave. So transcending the idea of fire, we have a torch. We learned how to take the primitive fire and use it to light our cave using a torch. But there's a problem with all that smoke. Plus, we can't leave the torch in there for very long because it's dangerous and it will eventually go out. So the transcendent idea of a torch is a candle. Candle's great, but it's not bright enough to light a large space, and the wind can blow it out. So then we transcend to a lantern. Lantern's great, but it's messy, only lasts for a certain amount of time. Permanent light is needed. Well, then the transcendent thought to that was a light bulb. So now we have a light bulb. But wait, We want to go outside. We can't take the light bulb outside. How do we make it mobile? Well, the idea of the light bulb transcended into a flashlight. Fantastic, useful. We use it all the time. But there's one more thing that's transcendent of all these. And it's not only light, but it cuts metal, and it's a laser beam. So going from fire to a laser beam is a great metaphor to depict transcendence, or, as Cho had said, the production of something beyond what has gone before, something that is entirely new. Transcendence is always there. Life is always for the greater expansion and expression of itself. Ever see a crack in the cement and you see a little flower popping up and growing out through that, or maybe a daffodil? That's how life is always expanding. And in terms of us, of you and I, this transcendent, it shows up as an inner nudging, an inner urge for growth and expansion, to be more, to do more, to express more. My mind is a center of divine affirmation. As you work with that affirmation, it's going to bring forth divine ideas, which are direct inheritance from God. And as we focus on those ideas, we can use our I am power to bring forth greater and greater good. This is the experience of transcendence. I encourage you to make a list of 25 I am statements as part of your spiritual practice, whether they're true or not, whatever you wish to be true. And you can also, like, if you want to say something and it doesn't make sense to start with I am, you can say I am at peace or I am centered, and then say your affirmation. 25. I said that to someone yesterday and they said 25, that's too many. Well, work, get busy and get work. And then I'd like you to read them aloud every day for 3 weeks. You might even raise your right hand like you're taking a vow. And before each statement, you can say, my mind is a center of divine operation. Here's some examples. My mind is the center of divine operation. I'm divinely guided in all I think, say, and do. My mind is the center of divine operation. I am centered, knowing that divine ideas govern my thinking and divine love governs my feeling. My mind is the center of divine operation. I'm always equal to any task set before me. My mind is the center of divine operation. I am at peace because my life for me is a joyous, enriching, fulfilling experience. Or my mind is the center of divine operation. I am healthy. I am peaceful. I am joyful. Anything you want to include, any aspect of God. And so right now, I'd like to close with us joining together. Maybe we can do a group affirmation. If not, if you're not unmuted, you can put your hand over your heart right now. And I'd like you to say 3 times with me, my mind is the center of divine operation. My mind
is the center of divine
operation. My mind
is center of
divine operation. My mind is the center of divine operation.
My mind is the center of divine operation.
Yes, I encourage you to go forth using that statement every day, all day, and watch how the magic of living in the kingdom unfolds in your life and affairs. And so begins your lesson. And so it is. Amen.
So it is.